Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. This episode, by an overwhelming vote of 2-1 from the comments section, I had two people who cast their vote for Storms of Steel. One person cast their vote for Triumph and Tragedy. To the one person for the Triumph and Tragedy, hang in there. I do intend to get to that sometime in the near future. But for now, I am going to talk about Conflict of Heroes Storms of Steel, 3rd edition, which just came out not too long ago by Academy Games. Now, as most of you know from my other videos, I'm not a very big tactical gamer. It's never really been my cup of tea. I've tried Squad Leader in the past, I've tried Combat Commander, I've tried something else too, I forget what. But anyway, Memoir 44, but that's been kind of a bit too light. But I came across this earlier this year, and actually I picked up Awakening the Bear, the 2nd edition, and I played around with it some, and I was enjoying it, but then somehow I got sidetracked. I'm not sure what happened. But I've come back to it now that I've got the 3rd edition of Storms of Steel here on my table. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. This is actually mission number 7. And this is an all-tank one. Because quite frankly, when I was a wee lad and first started to get interested in history in elementary school, one of the things that always appealed to me, interested me, was tanks. So I've always had a fascination with tanks, an interest in tanks. And so it seems appropriate for me to show you the game here, the mechanics and stuff using this all tank format. Basically you'll get to see all the basic functions of the game, just not with infantry. But perhaps further down the line I'll do another video of a mission that has both infantry and tanks to it. Okay, so let's go. Alright, first of all, you can see right here we've got quite a bit going on. We've got a bunch of tanks from the Soviet Union. Way up here at the top, we've got this little tiger all by himself sitting on the road, immobilized. And then over here, we have the column from the mighty German Wehrmacht. A couple of Panzer IIIs and one Panzer IV and one retrieval vehicle coming to save the tiger. That's the whole point here in the mission. Okay. Speaking of which, let me just start with this here. Let me take you over to here and just show you real quick. So, sorry to move you, but sometimes it is necessary to do so. Here is this mission rulebook, or the mission book, I should say. The rulebook is different, but this shows you everything. One thing I really like about this game that's a huge positive is how well organized it is. Things are beautifully laid out. The first couple pages of this book has like a key that shows you for each mission, you know, what each of the symbols mean, what you're doing, how you're setting things up and stuff. Okay, so like here, let me zoom in a little bit more. Let's take a look here at the German side here. But here it tells you things like how many cards you get, how many cards you draw each turn, how many command action points you get, which are very useful to kind of keeping things rolling, to mitigate friction on the battlefield, and then victory points, if any, that somebody starts with. And it shows you your forces, shows you what kind, shows you where they start, okay, and where they're set up on the map. And then you've got your section on the victory points here, how you score them in this one. If I destroy any Soviet units, I get a victory point, and I get 4 immediately if I get the Tiger transported off the map. Which, interesting here, it doesn't say which edge to transport it off of. I just have to get it off the map. More about that later. And also some cards that you may start the game with as well too. That is for both sides. And down here, you know, it tells you what maps to use and then how many rounds there are and any special instructions. Sometimes there's reinforcements and stuff here. And then the other thing that's nice about this, if I can move you again here so everybody you keep your sea legs on, is it also shows you a map that shows you visually where things are set up, which direction they're facing. It's just very well done. Okay, so that's where we're at here with this wounded tiger scenario. So it's all about the tiger with its souped up 88, so to speak. Okay, all right, so let's jump in here and let's just get rolling, okay? So the scenario says the Soviets begin with the initiative, so the Soviets will get to take their first action. Now, actions can be done in a couple of different ways in this game. So let me zero in here on the Soviet tanks. Here we got some T-70s and some T-34s, okay? So you see there's a couple numbers there in the top right and left hand corner here. The left hand one is firing. If you want to fire, that's how many action points it takes to do that. And this one also over here shows you how much it takes to move. The green piece across the top here shows your firing arc. Okay, so basically for each unit, the hex in front and the one on each side, that's your front. The 3 on the back, that's your flank. And that's important for these numbers here because these are basically your defense factors depending on where you're being attacked from. These two numbers here are your firing numbers. The red ones are for soft targets like infantry, and the blue ones are for hard targets like tanks. And this is your range, how far away that you can fire, provided of course you can see, LOS, line of sight, the enemy. Okay, so real basic stuff as far as that goes. So basically as actions you can do a couple of different things each turn. You can move, you can fire, which of course naturally enough makes sense. You can pivot in place. You can change the facing of your unit if you want to. You can also pass, which of course the problem with that is if your opponent passes, then of course the round is over and you move on to the next round. You can also play a battle card of some kind, and I'll try to play some of these to show you how these work, okay, in the game. But you may play these, and you can also stall, which is not a pass. So you can basically sit still and wait to see what your opponent's going to do, but if he passes, then it's not 2 passes in a row if you stall, which actually I think is a very clever mechanic, by the way. Of course, you can rally, okay, as well too, and then you can do some other things too, like you can hide yourself, hidden moves, or you can put up a hasty defense to try and protect yourself, okay? So let's just start here with the Soviets. Now, of course, the Soviets, their big goal is to get this Tiger. Okay, so I'm going to roll up there as fast as I can with this group. All right. Speaking of groups, you can activate units individually, or you can activate them as a group. Now, in order to activate them as a group, you basically have to have them all connected and touching each other. So long as they touch each other, they are a group. Okay, so technically I can activate all these guys together and start rolling up the map board if I want. And I think I'll go ahead and do that and show you how this works. Now, the old version used to have action points where each unit has a certain amount of action points and you altered back and forth and stuff. But the new rules have what's called a spent mechanic, which I think is totally cool and is just really neat. Not only just for playing a tactical game, but also for playing solo. It makes it a nice, it makes it very solitaire friendly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so since all these guys are touching each other, we're going to make this a group action. Now, the group action is conducted by all the units. They don't have to stick together as a group. Technically, I could send some off this way, some this way, and some hugging the Balka here if I wanted to. Of course, then it breaks up the groups, so next time I'd have different groups that need to be activated. And the big thing is you pay the cost of whatever the highest cost is for the most expensive unit in the group. Okay, so for example, if I drove one of these tanks into a wood space up here, then that would be the most expensive cost, the most expensive action points that would be spent. Okay, now, tracked and wheeled vehicles, just to zoom in here a little bit, you can see these 2 little blue boxes here. That tells you movement bonuses. So if you're moving through certain terrain, like for tanks, it's open ground, wheat fields, corn fields, and I think that's it. Well, roads, of course, naturally enough. Then you get extra movement you can do. Basically, in the game, when you activate a unit, it can only move 1 space. But with these bonuses, so long as it's certain terrain, so long as it's not basically difficult terrain, okay, like woods, stone buildings, things like that, then you can go ahead and use these bonuses to do that. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. Now, notice, the T-34 there has 2, and notice this T-70 only has 1. Okay, so let's zoom back out and let's roll. Now, when you move your units, you move them through one of the 3 front hexes. You can go ahead and move backwards, but that also costs you more action points to do that if you want to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to here because, of course, I want to try and close distance with this tiger as fast as I can. Because, of course, the tiger's big advantage is it can reach out and touch someone, so to speak. So I want to make like a bird truck and haul buns and get up there. Or, to put it another way, as my 3-year-old likes to say, we're going to kick the tires and light the fires and get up there. Okay, so here we go. All right. So when you move, you can move through one of your 3 front hexes, and then when the unit is done moving at the very end, you can then pivot it anywhere you want in the hex to face whatever direction you want. Okay, obviously, as the Soviets, I need to be thinking about these German tanks up here because this relief column is coming to try and rescue the Taiga. All right, so here we go. And of course, the Soviets, I'll be trying to maneuver them on the backside because if you've seen Kelly's Heroes, you know, as Oddball would say, Tiger only has one weakness. That's in its ass. You gotta shoot it in the ass. So that's what I'm gonna try and do with these T-34s. We're gonna try and do the hustle and get up there. So here we go. So long as I move through these open ground territory, I can go ahead and use that movement bonus. One other thing about terrain here in the game is there's a white dot in the center of every single hex, and whatever that white dot is sitting on is the terrain for the hex. So for example, you see there's a little bit of trees here. Here, I'll go ahead and zoom in real quick again. You can see there's a little bit of trees on this hex here above the couple of T-34s at the top. Okay, but the dot is in the middle, and notice the dot does not have a tree on it. So this is open ground. So these trees are basically for decoration, for lack of a better way to put it. They're aesthetic. They're not the terrain in the hex. The terrain in hex is always determined by where is that white dot. All right, so let's roll. All right, so we'll take this first T-34, 1, 2, 3, and roll them up through here. These guys can go through one of their front hexes, so that's here, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have him facing that way. 1, 2, 3, move him up through here. And then these guys, 1, 2, 3. That's one of his front hexes too. And then these guys, I'm actually going to kind of maybe spread them off to the flank here, because they're not as fast. So we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, although that will keep them connected here. 1, and then 2 up to here, and then 1 and 2. So everybody's rolling along there. Okay? Now, once you've done that, you've spent your action points, and then basically the new mechanic for the game is to roll a 10-sided die, which is a special die. Although the rulebook tells you exactly what numbers are on the dice, so technically you could make a little chart with just normal 10-sided dice if you wanted to, and still go ahead and get away with this without having to buy the special dice. You know, it's because there's not really that many different numbers. There's 1 through 7, and then there's a couple numbers that are repeated, so really it's not that difficult. Okay, so the action cost here was 1 because everybody stayed in open terrain. Nobody did anything difficult or tricky, so it's 1. So basically now I'm going to roll this 10-sided die, and if I roll a 1, they'll be stopped. So if you roll equal to or less than the number of action points spent, in this case 1, that's it. The units become spent. If it's higher, they will be fresh and continue on for another round. So let's see what happens here. Okay, no problem. I rolled a big old 7. So Soviet tanks continue. Now whatever units are activated, and the game also becomes stressed. Now stressed is important because stress, if you activate units 2 turns in a row, stress adds 1 action point to it. So for example, when I move these guys again, or whichever one of these I move, if I decide to move them as 2 different groups, then the one group will end up with another action point. So right away that makes the movement cost 1 for normal plus 1 for being stressed. So now it's 2. Okay, and of course that can accumulate if you go like through woods or other things and stuff like that. And again, this is really well organized. The nice terrain effects chart here, it goes over everything, what the costs are for each one, whatever notes there are, like certain things, certain times of the year, like cornfields, will have an impact on things. Other times of the year they won't, depending on the season, of course, whether the corn is ready for the harvest. Okay, and same thing with the other card here too, just to show you real quick. There's a nice outline, what all the numbers mean. You've got all the information down here about combat, hit numbers and stuff like that, which we'll go over here in a little bit because I'm about to activate the tiger. And, you know, it's just very nicely done. Okay, alright, now, the Germans' turn. Okay, so now I'm going to go up here to my big old tiger. So let's take a look here at my Tiger. My Tiger is facing down there. Now, of course, the range on my Tiger is huge. Okay, so I'm going to have my Tiger target one of these front T-34s and see if I can get some hits here and get some rocking going on here. Now, the Tiger's range is, excuse me, is 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No sweat on that. Okay? And when you fire, it has to be, the target has to be within the arc that's on top, the green spot there. Okay? So you can see over here the Tiger has his arc from here. And if I want to try and hit this T-34, well, I got to see, is it within the arc? Now, notice the times you can eyeball things. Probably those of you who played Squad Leader in the past know you get like some kind of straight edge. I got to be honest, I went ahead and splurged for this little Academy Games thing because it's not. I always have trouble with that kind of stuff. But this is a nice little ribbon there, as you can see, string, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and let's just double check and make sure here that we're good with the Tiger. So the Tiger's arc is here with the green, and as you can see from the line there, it does intersect. There's no blocking terrain, okay, in the way, so I can definitely shoot and try to light that guy up. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, now for attacks, okay, basically you compare one of two numbers that the enemy has, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the Tiger here as well too. Okay, so here's the Tiger tank. Okay, and the Tiger there, you can see, there we go. All right, there's two numbers there on the left, like I said before. Now, of course, I'm firing at a hard target, so I'm going to use the 12. Notice the firing cost is a 3 there. Okay, the white circle is basically a turret that can fire 360 degrees. So even though this Tiger is immobilized, I can swing the turret around and try to shoot at anybody within range. There's an action point cost with that, but I can do it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fire with our 12 at this T-34. All right, so let's take a look at this said T-34 here. Okay, now the T-34, because I'm firing at it, let me tilt it there, it's a little blurry. There we go. That's glare was there. The T-34, there. The T-34, there's two numbers there. Okay, the top number is your flank. So if you're hitting the back three ones, you use the 16. I'm shooting at this bugger head on, so it's going to use the 19. It's frontal armor factor. So you take that 19 and subtract my firing number, which is 12. 19 minus 12 is 7. That's how you get your to hit number. So basically, to hit this sucker, I need 7 or better. Now, in the course of the game, if you want, you can use your command action points to alter that. Your command action points are kept here on a track, okay? And every turn you get a fresh set. You cannot save them, so it's use it or lose it, okay? And you can see the Germans start with 6. Now, you can use up to 2 to alter the number, okay, up or down. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why in the world would I want to put it up to a 9? You know, it makes it harder to hit. Well, when you start to add in artillery and stuff, if you end up with the artillery going astray off its target and possible friendly fire, then yeah, you might want to alter that number up. Okay, that's why you might want to do that. So I need 7 or better right now. So what I'm going to do is, just to show you how it works, I'm going to spend 1 action point, and I'm going to lower that to needing 6 or better. So now I have 5 points left. Okay, so let's see if my Tiger can light it up. Ready? Or as my 3-year-old likes to say, ready, steady, go. Well, I rolled a 3. That's unfortunate. That's no good. Yeesh. Okay, I'll tell you what though. For the purposes of this demonstration, let's say that I rolled a 6. Okay. Now, a 6 is going to score a hit for me. Okay, so hits, interestingly enough, another thing I like about this game is you've got these hit markers. Okay, so I'm going to pull a damage marker out of here and find out what happened. Now, if you ever hit an enemy at a difference of 4 or better, so for example, let's say I rolled an 11 versus the 6, that's 5, that is what's called a critical hit, and kaboom, thanks for playing, you're done. Okay, the unit is destroyed. But let's just say, for argument's sake, I rolled a 6, which is equal to or greater than the hit number. So now, let's see what kind of damage marker I pull for these guys. Oh, that's unfortunate for them. Their gun is damaged. So now their main armament cannot fire. Okay. Now notice it says no rally because some markers you can't get rid of them. Okay, especially with vehicles. Most of the infantry ones you can get rid of. You know, you can go ahead and rally and get rid of, you know, like your stunned marker or suppressed or whatever and stuff. But vehicles, yeah, you can't. Okay, so I lay that on top of that T-34. Now, if a unit receives a second damage marker, it is destroyed. Okay, and actually in that pile of markers there is one destroyed marker, one, which will wipe them out right off the bat. Okay, and if you're ever in you know, wondering, if you can't remember, gee, I wonder what all that means and stuff. Again, this is one of the best rule books I've ever seen. Right there's a nice little chart telling you not only what they mean, but how many there are in the group there. Okay, so you can see gun damage, there's only 2 of those. Okay, you can't attack with either red or blue firepower, and you cannot rally. You can't get rid of it. So that gun is knocked out. And again, basically because these are such short duration tactical fights, there's not enough time to fix that sucker. Okay, so unlike some other games where, you know, like, for example, Squad Leader, if a machine gun malfunctions or even a main gun on a tank malfunctions, you can roll to try to fix it. This Storms of Steel, it's basically like, and it says somewhere here in one of the designer's notes, you know, right here it says, hit markers with no rally indicate physical damage that cannot be repaired in the heat of battle. So, you know, that's it. All right. Now, my Tiger fired, that would be 3 that action points. So now I would need to roll 4 or higher on my 10-sided die. But what I'm going to do, because I want to keep this sucker around, I'm going to go ahead and use 1 command point, and I'm going to lower that to 2. So let's see if he ends up spending. Okay, he does not, and I kind of wasted it because I rolled a 5. But of course, you know, you never know for sure, which is why you want to go ahead and maybe take that chance. Okay? Alright, so now he's marked with a stress marker, so if I activate him 2 turns in a row, then he'll go ahead and he'll have to have that 1 extra action point for the stress. Okay, and now it's back to the Soviet side. Alright, okay, so now the Soviets, let's see, should I break these up into 2 groups? I think I will do that. Now, unfortunately, the T-34 with the gun damage is basically just a sitting duck. That's just victory points waiting to be picked up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and break these guys into 2 groups. I'm going to go ahead and run these T-34s and start racing them up this way, up this road, and try to get behind that Tiger if I can. Okay, so again, this is all clear terrain because the dots in the middle tells me it's so. So, not to sound like Sir Thomas More, the man for all seasons, the king, the king in Parliament tells me there, Parliament, the king's, something the king, I forget what, it's been a while since I've seen it, but, you know, the king's edict or whatever tells me that they are or whatever. So, you know, that's what it is. So here we go. So 1, 2, 3 with the bonus. 1, 2, 3, okay? And then, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to activate this guy too, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide him over this way into there. Maybe I'll back him into the bulk later. 1, 2, 3, up to there. Okay, so they all moved. That's their action. So 1 action point plus 1 more because they're stressed, but I want to reduce the chance of that, so I'm going to go ahead and take it down to a 1. Now, I could spend 2 and take it down to a 0, which basically means you don't have to do the spent die roll. So let's see. Okay, I rolled a 6, so those guys are fresh. No worries there. Okay, so now back to the German side. Alright, well, obviously, I want to keep the Tiger firing, and I notice the T-34s are going to take some time to come up to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to try and roll this column in, because I'm going to bring this column in, and I'm going to basically try to move them down the road and try to close in over here. Now again, it can be a group action because they all touch each other. It is the highest cost that will be done, okay, for the group, and each one of these only has a 1-track vehicle, track or wheeled vehicle bonus. So 1, 2, And of course, we're starting to get behind these buildings, which would block LOS, so I'm not worried about somebody shooting at us. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1 and 2. Okay? So, again, if I roll a 1, they'll be spent. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Whew. Ah. You know, sometimes it's better to keep your mouth shut about stuff. Look at that. It's a 2. Oh my goodness, that was close. Okay? I almost respect. So now, notice what I'm going to do here is, let me zoom back out. I'm going to go and take my spent marker that I had over here on my Tiger that fired last time, and now I will send it over to this group. So now if I activate this group next time again, they'll be the ones with the +1 action point modifier. Okay. Alright, so now the Soviets. So now the question is, should I go ahead and press my luck with the T-34s and try to roll them along, or should I start moving these T-70s up to either intercept the column or maybe try to take the Tiger from both sides, because it is a Tiger. So I think what I'm going to do these T-70s is I'm going to try and roll them up and try to send them maybe even up to here to try and intercept the column so they can maybe fire at them across this freshly planted field here, these fields of wheat and corn that are not in season yet because it's July, because of course storms of steel, it's cursed. Alright, so here we go. So I'm going to do a group activation. These guys are all touching each other. So I'm going to go ahead and move them only 2 because that's all they can do. 1 and 2, and I'm going to face this guy this way. 1 and 2, face him this way. 2, 1 and 2, also facing that way, and then 1 and 2. And I'll have him face that way too. Alright, and again, quite frankly, I'm doing this because the first time I played this, I got burned. I moved these guys as a group, and I didn't use anything action point, and I actually rolled a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my command action points, reduce that to 0 so I don't have to worry about them. But they are stressed. So next time they'll have automatically that +1 action point. So now, on we go to the Germans again. So I've got the Tiger here. So I'm going to go ahead and try and knock out this lead T-34. So let's see how that goes. So again, I got the range, I got the arc. I've got 12, 19, that's a difference of 7. I want to save some of my command points, so I'm going to go ahead and just go with the 7. And I rolled a 7. Awesome. So let's see what I pulled this time for a damage marker. Survey says they are suppressed. Okay, so now if you look at this marker here, you can see that this one does actually have a rally number on them. Okay, so you can spend a rally action, and of course I'll do that here next time just to show you how that works. Sorry if that glare is kind of there. Just to show you what it costs and things of that nature. Okay, so this one is suppressed. So notice it hurts their attack numbers. So now their attack factor on their hard target, which of course is what we care about here, is -5. So their 9 would go down to a 4 from that hit. Okay? Alright. Now my Tiger again would be a 3 cost, but I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 command action point to reduce that to a 2 to try and minimize that. Ah, shoot. Well, I rolled a 1, so my Tiger, unfortunately, is spent. So basically what that means now is they get flipped to this side here. Now, spent units cannot be easily activated. They can be activated to do something, move or anything else, but you have to do it with your command action points. So for example, if I wanted to fire this Tiger again, I would have to either use a card, because some cards will let you do things like that, or I would have to go ahead and I'd have to go ahead and spend my command points, whatever the cost is. So like 1 command point to reduce it to 0 to move, 3 to reduce it to 0 to attack. I would have to go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's unfortunately a bummer, and those guys are stressed. Okay, all right, over to the Soviet side here now. Now again, I'll do this just to show you how this works with the rally action. So we're going to do these guys here all by themselves, and basically rally action costs you 5 action points, so it's extremely expensive to do. And again, it's all outlined here on the card very nicely. There's rally, 5 action points. Okay, and again, it references the number, so you know where to look in the rules if you need to look it up. Okay, and the rules, again, I can't stress enough, are so well done. I mean, it's very clear, it's very crisp. There's examples with each new rules. The examples are well done. I mean, seriously, so far I haven't had any questions about this game. And that is a rarity, as you know, as fellow wargamers, I'm sure you know. You're like, what? No questions? Yep, didn't have to run to Board Game Geek and check threads or Consim World. Nope, nada. Okay, alright, so let's try and rally this guy. Now again, I could adjust the number if I want with my command action point, but I'm not going to because I really want to keep these tanks moving. So let's hope I get lucky here. And I did. It's a 10. Okay, so now we remove the marker and we put it back into the bin for future. But now my biggest problem is I have to roll a 6 or a 7 in order to keep that unit fresh. So let's see what happens here. Now I could use command action points, but I'm not going to. Well, good thing I didn't because I rolled another 1, so it wouldn't have mattered. Okay, it would have been spent no matter what. So again, you flip them over to the red striped side, and now again, since these guys didn't move, I'll move the stress marker to here, and that's the end of the turn. So notice how this goes back and forth very quickly. You know, there's really no downtime here. You know, even if you're activating a group of units, you're only doing one action with them, and like with infantry, you can only move one space unless you have a card that allows you to do that. Okay, that's it. So, alright, so my tiger is in bad shape. So what I'm going to do now, to again show you another aspect of the game here, since it's a German turn, is I'm going to go ahead and play this card here, Swift Action. Okay, now, the different symbols and stuff, again, are in the book. The cross symbol on this one, just to make sure specifically I get the words right, so just bear with me here for a second, because I don't want to tell you anything incorrectly here. It's a bonus card, okay? Can be played, any number can be played in a turn. They're not actions, so it doesn't cost you anything, okay? Unlike the lightning bolt here, which is an action, okay? This one here, which I'll probably use for the Soviets, as you can see the text, it's a nice card to have, okay? So, now, if there is a blue box, okay, that's the command action point cost. So in order to play this card, I got to spend one of my command action points. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to go ahead and reduce that down to 2, and it says take 2 consecutive turns, skipping the opponent's turn. Turn actions may be taken by different units. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and move this column up faster and get it over here to help the tiger. That's my plan. Okay, so my first turn here, I'm going to move these guys. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Now, of course, I have to mark them as stressed because they did move. All right, now, unfortunately, because I used that point, I can't fire the tiger yet because I don't have the command action points to do that with. Alright? But I'm going to go ahead and try and move this column and see if I can get them closer. Okay? In order to do that. But first, of course, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to roll first, which is going to be their 1. So I shouldn't have put the stress marker on yet. I should have waited. So the first one, I rolled a 2. Whew, holy cow. Good thing. So now, I might use one of those command action points this next time. Now they will be stressed, and I'm going to go ahead and take the second consecutive action, which again is the card set. It can be done with the same units or different ones. So I'm going to move them along. 1, 2. And of course, I'm going to pivot this guy this well. But if I pivot him this way, yeah, we'll leave him here. I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble. That does kind of expose him, but the front 3 hexes are the key, so that still would be his frontal thing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, of course, that's going to be a cost of 2 because 1 for normal plus 1 for stress. So I'm going to go ahead and pay 1 action command point and reduce that to a 1. Okay, I rolled a 5. I didn't need it, but, you know, it's one of those, you know, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it kind of deals. Okay? All right. So those guys move. So now we're back to the Soviets. All right. Now, let's see. As much as I like to get a hit on that tiger, I think I'm going to go ahead and do another group action here with these T-70s, which unfortunately don't have a very good range. They only have a range of 6. But again, the tiger's spent, so he can't do anything. And that's one thing I guess that's a little artificial about this game is I know it's spent. But What you don't know, of course, is what kind of action card your opponent has. Do they have, like this Soviet card I have, this adrenaline card? You know, could they suddenly activate it? Could they just sit there and wait? And you're like, yes, yes, they are spent. And then you close in, because you can't notice, you can't move and shoot on the same turn. You got to move, then shoot. Okay, so you could be like closing in with your Tigers, or closing in with your T-34s, and then BAM! A German player plays a card like that and is like, how you doing, boys? What's up? And you're like, oh, no. You know, or you could have a Blackadder moment. Hang on. Okay, so, you know, there is that little bit there with the cards, which again, playing solo, you kind of lose that a little bit, but, you know, what I do sometimes is I just, you know, pick a number, like say 7, 8, or sometimes I just roll, you know, like a 10-sided die and let that be the number, like roll a 3, and then I roll 2 6-sided dice, and if the number I roll is higher than the number, in this case 3, then the card is still played. If it's equal to or less than, then the card isn't played, something happens, some snafu, blah blah blah, friction. Okay, so just a little sidelight there. Alright, so let me go ahead and roll these T-70s up so I can see if I can get them a shot over here. So a little group activation here. So I'm going to go 1, 2 with them. And, yeah, we're going to keep the facing there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if you're thinking to yourself, Tim, what the devil are you doing with those guys? Hey, look, I told you before, tactical games are not my thing, and I'm not the world's greatest tactician. I'm not even the world's semi-greatest tactician. Okay? So, yeah. Alright. So let's see now. Now it's only a 1. And I rolled a 5. So no problem there. But again, now they're all stressed. Okay, now back to the Germans. Now I really have a tough choice here. I don't have enough command action points left to do anything with the Tiger. But if I roll these other tanks, I'm going to be pressing my luck. I've got 1 command action point left. So let me go ahead and roll them again. Okay, we're going to move them one more time. So 1, 2. Should I keep them straight? Should I pivot them down? Good question. I'm gonna leave them be. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Okay. So again, it would be 2. 1 action point plus the 1 stress point. It never get more. It doesn't accumulate either. It doesn't snowball. So like now it's not like, oh, they were stressed last time, so 1 stress plus action. No, it's always 1 point stress no matter how many times you do them in a row. I'm going to spend my last command action point down to 0 because I want to try to make sure I keep them moving and try to get a shot off. I rolled a 3, so again I didn't need it, but you know, I guess it depends how much of a gambler you are, right? Okay, back to the Soviets now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move these T-34s and try to close in on this Tiger if I can. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and we'll keep them both aimed there. Okay, so that's only a 1. So I'll roll the die, and now they will be marked as stressed. They rolled a 5, so they're ready to roll, so to speak, still next turn. And now back to the Germans. Alright. Whew, I'm really going to be gambling here. But then again, most of my tanks are behind these buildings over here. If you take a look here, let me zoom in real quick. Yeah, I mean, see, it's like, yeah, almost all of them except for the lead tank. Now, of course, I could just activate the lead tank. But his arc is facing towards the Tiger. So, well, let's check it. Let's just check it. Are there any Soviet within the arc? Let's see. Here's the edge of the green. Well, actually, you know what? This T-34 is within the arc. Should I have them activate individually? No, let's move them one more time. We'll do one more movement action with them. So 1, 2, and now of course I will pivot to face. 1, 2, pivot to face. 1, 2, keep him behind the building, and then 1. And actually, what? I'm going to split this guy off 2 and put him down there. Now, of course, they all get the same die roll. So keep your fingers crossed. Here we go. Okay, I'm still all right. But that was another harebrained one. That was another 3. Okay. All right. So Now for the Soviets, do I go ahead and try and fire? Because the T-34 firing frontally on a Tiger, that's pretty rough, man. That is pretty rough. Even though the frontal arm will be -1, it'll be 20. But 9 minus 20, that's 11. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and fire one of these T-34s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So clearly within range. He has a range of 9. Not by much though, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay. There's nothing blocking LOS. So again, defense factor is 20. Attack factor is 9. 20 minus mine is 11. But I can spend 2 action points to lower the number down to 9. So let's see if I can hit that Tiger. It's a 6, so no such luck. Now, of course, if you notice, it's a lot more expensive for a T-34 to fire. It's actually a 5. That's a lot, man. Oh, but I rolled a 6, so he is fresh. Okay, but he's the only one that's marked. So the other T-34 can roll next time again if he wants. Okay. Alright, back to the Germans. Alright, now, these guys are all stressed, but I could have somebody open fire if I want. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Now the question is, could I hit this guy in the flank? But I also have to worry about these 70s. Let me see. There's the arc. Now that's passing through the front, one of the front 3 hexes, so that would be a frontal hit. So that would be 9 against 19, that'd be a difference of 10. Yikes. But of course I could try to close and get into close range. Well, you know what? Fortune favors the brave. Let's fire that sucker. I need a 10. See if I get lucky. Do I feel lucky? Punk. Oh! I got a 12. I got boxcars. Check that out. Now, of course, unfortunately, if I had a command pointer and been able to lower that by 1, that would have been a difference of 3. Well, actually, no, I need a difference of 4. I'm sorry. Not 3. It's a difference of 4 or more. So, yeah. But I get to draw a marker. Come on, man. Give me that one destroyed marker. There's only one, by the way. Nope, but I have another immobilized Soviet tank. Awesome. Alright, now, he was stressed, so 3 plus 1 is 4, so now I need 5 or better. I'll just spend dice. And I rolled a 6. Awesome. So he will be stressed, and of course, now these 3 guys will not be stressed anymore. And now to go back to the Soviet turn. Okay, at this point, because I don't like my videos to go too long, I'm going to go ahead and stop. It's been a bit here. But this gives you an idea of how the system works, what goes back and forth. Couldn't use a whole lot of cards because you don't get a whole lot of cards in this particular one. This is one of the early ones here. One thing I will say is that this has programmed instruction like the original squad leader, like carrier. So you can do just a section of rules and then play a couple of missions. And the nice thing is then you can go back and add other rules as you get further in the rule book and learn them. Or the rule book is so well done, and you know, if you're an experienced tactical wargamer, you could probably read all the rules, because there's like, what, 20 some pages of rules? Maybe 30. And then you could just go and, you know, do that. But again, I mean, the rule book is well done. It's just, it really is. I mean, I'll just show you here an example on this page. Okay, like mortars and artillery. I mean, you know, you look at the example, there's nice pictures, everything is spelled out, nothing is assumed. It kind of reminds me of like a, you know, one piece of advice one of my college professors once gave was like, you know what, if you're struggling with math, go find yourself a 1960s textbook. Because a 1960s textbook assumes you know nothing and does everything, spells it out step by step by step by excruciating step. So there you go. There's a little intro to Storms of Steel, a little tank on tank action, if you will, not to make that sound weird, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. Never mind. Okay, I'm tired. My boys have been, well, not my boys. I shouldn't say that back. My oldest one has been He's a great sleeper, but my younger one, holy cow. Like pulling teeth, man. So, alright. So I hope you enjoyed this little intro to Storms of Steel. I'll come back, after I played some more of these scenarios, I'll find one that has both tanks and infantry just to kind of to give you an idea of that too, as well. So, this is Tim Korchnak from Bare Bones Wargaming saying thanks for watching, and I'll see if I can save this tiger. I'm not optimistic at this moment, but hey, you never know. I got one T-34 with a gun damaged, another one immobilized, and no German tanks have been damaged yet. We'll see how that holds true or not. So, as always, thanks for watching, and again, I'm not sure if I'll come back with a more complicated, more units, Storms of Steel, or whether I'll be coming back with Triumph and Tragedy, which, when I do that, it'll probably be only a turn or two, because really my solo system is only used for the first couple of turns to kind of set the stage, and then after that, my solo system in that game really, after that, it's kind of, once the stage has been set, and you can kind of see the strategy evolving for each group, then it kind of becomes, you just make the best choices based on the strategies you can see has kind of evolved. So I guess you could say my solo method for Triumph and Tragedy is a way of establishing, like, grand strategy, like state policy, and then kind of going from there. So, alright, so thanks for watching as always. See you next time.